All right, we're coming to the close of this. Here we have the work problems, the word problems that are having to do with work. So it says working alone, it takes Imani 12 hours to harvest a field. Bill can harvest the same field in 10 hours. If they work together, how long would it take them? Well, remember we talked about this and we talked how um, what we're going to do is we're going to say how much of a field could they do in 1 hour. So we'll look at Imani and then Bill and then together, and then we'll be able to write an equation and solve it. And so how much could Imani do in 1 hour? Well, he could finish 1/12 or harvest 1/12 of the field. Bill, he could do the whole thing in 10 hours, which means he could do 1/10 in an hour. And together, how much could they do in an hour? Well, that's what we're looking for, so they can do 1 over x amount in an hour. And so when you work through these word problems, you're going to take how much the first person could do in an hour plus how much the second equals what they can do together. Now, if there's 3 of them working together, you add those 3 up. So we really just have a 1/12 plus a 1/10 equals 1 over x. And this is a rational equation. To solve rational equations, what we usually do is multiply by the least common denominator, which in this case, you could use 120x, but we know 12 and 10 both also go into 60. So we'll say 60x. So we'll multiply each term by 60x. And what will happen is we will have some simplifying. So 12 goes into 12 once, and 12 goes into 65 times. So we're left with 5x plus 10 goes into 66 times, and we're left with 6x equals x goes into x, and so equals 60. 5x plus 6x is 11x equals 60. Divide both sides by 11, and you get x is 60/11ths. Well, we're wanting to know how many hours, so let's change this to hours. We would divide, and we would get 5 hours, and we have a remainder. So we have 5 and 5/11ths hours. If you wanted to change this to minutes, what you could do is take 5/11ths, multiply it by 60, because there's 60 minutes in an hour, and that could take you down to the minutes on that. Our next one's going to be very similar. Kayla takes her 12 hours to mop the warehouse, where Carlos can mop it in 11. How long would it take them if they work together? Actually, it's the exact same idea. So we got Kayla can do a 12th of the job in 1 hour. Carlos can do an 11th of the job in 1 hour. What can they do together? Well, they can do 1 over x. And so we're simply going to do 1/12 plus 1/11 equals 1 over x. We can figure out that the least common denominator here is 12 times 11, which is 132x. So 132x, so we'll multiply each term by 132x. And we'll definitely have some simplifying we can do. 12 goes into this 11 times, so we have an 11x. 11 goes into this 12 times, so plus 12x is equal to the x simplifies, and we get 132. It's a bad equal sign, so that's an equal sign. We get 23x, adding these two terms together, equals 132. Divide both sides by 23. 132 divided by 23. I think that's just going to be 5 times, so 5. So we get 5 and 17/23 of an hour. again, you could take 17/23, multiply it by 60, and that would tell you how many minutes that would be. These next two are a little bit different because it tells us how much they can do working together. It also has some decimals in here, so we'll show how to work with those. So working together, Imani and Ndiba can mop a warehouse in 4.95 hours. Had he done it alone, it would have taken him 9 hours. How long would it take for Imani to do it alone? Well, we have Imani, Ndiba, and together we want to know how much it would take him, so we're going to do 1 over x. This guy can do it 1/9 of it in an hour, and then together it will actually, you can put 1 over 4.95. Seems a little weird, but that's okay. It's got a decimal in there, but that's no problem. We can work with that. And so what we would do is we would just say, well, 1 over x plus 1 over 9 is equal to 1 over 4.95. And our least common denominator, there's a few ways we could do this. We could divide this and get whatever fraction that is. But let's just go ahead and say it's 9 times 4.95 times x, and we'll multiply each term by that. So 9 times 4.95 x, 9 times 4.95 x, and the same thing over here. And what will happen is, just like before, things will cancel out. Sorry, that should be a 9.5. And so here the x reduces. So we have 9 times 4.95, and that is 44.55. Plus, here the 9's simplify, and that's 4.95x. And on the right side, the 4.95 simplify, and you're left with 9x. We now want to solve for x, so we would go ahead and subtract 4.95x from both sides. So we get the 44.55 is equal to 9 minus 4.95, and that is 4.05x, and we'll go ahead and divide the 44, we'll divide both sides by 4.05. And when you divide that, you get x is equal to 11. And so it would take Imani 11 hours to map the warehouse on his own. And the last one, again, is a lot like, so number 23 is very much like 22. We have Mark, Matt, and together it looks like they can do 1 over 6.24. Matt can do 1/12 of it, and we want to know how fast can Mark do it alone. So we're going to have 1 over x plus 1 over 12 equals the 1 over 6.24. And again, what we're going to do is we're going to just, I know there's a decimal here, but our least common denominator is going to be the 12 times the 6.24 x. And we would multiply each term by that. And when we do that, we have some simplifying we can do. The x's simplify here, so we're left with 12 times 6.24, which is 74.88. In the next term, the 12 simplify, and we're left with 6.24x. On the right side, the 6.24 simplify, and you're left with 12x. We would go ahead next and subtract 6.24 from both sides. So subtract 6.24x from both sides. So we have 74.88 equals 5.76x. Divide both sides by 5.76 to get x by itself. And we get x is equal to 13, which means it would take Mark 13 hours to pick all the bushels, the 40 bushels. And that's how you solve those.